So I recently got a chance to review one of this device, that is this Mac Mini M4 dock from the brand Minisopuru. I think so that I'm spelling this thing correctly. So I got two of these units from this brand Minisopuru, and this was one of those collaborations that I did with this brand, but this is not a paid review at all. So let us start with the number one device, that is this Mini M4 Pro model, because I know that this is the one that most of the people might be interested in, because most of the people are not the ones who would like a vertical look on their Mac Mini M4. But in my suggestion, I would just go with that vertical stand, and I would just come to that thing later on to this video. So about this device, as you can see that this does match the color of the Mac Mini M4, and I just was very surprised to see that how close the silver color is to what we have got on the Mac Mini M4. But one thing that will excite a lot of people to purchase this device is because that this is one of the very rare devices that we have got in the market that has got no interference with the Wi-Fi signals, because most of the devices that I have used in the past, they have got some kind of Wi-Fi interference with the docks that we have got in the market. But this is not the case with this very specific model, and I would just test everything, or I would say that I have tested everything, and this is a rough sheet of the networking that I got on this one. So I would just discuss everything in this video, but let us first take a look at the other elements of this design. Now this thing, as you can see in the front, you have got a rubber padding, and that is just to make sure that when the Mac Mini M4 it sits on top of this dock, it does not scratch the plastic bottom of the device, which is just a very good design. Now you have got this logo that is in the middle of this device, which is a very subtle touch, but I would just want to have this thing no logo than having a font or anything on top of the device, but something that is just my taste. Now on front of this device, you have got a full-size SD card slot, as you can see, along with a mini SD card slot, and there are two USB 2.0 ports. Now the company suggests that these are capable of about 480 megabytes per second, but there is just no USB type A connection with a 3.2 standard that might allow for about 10 gigabits of connection speed on this device. And the reason that why it does not exist is just because that was one of the things that might be interfering with the Wi-Fi connection on these devices that are just this slim, and just because of the metal body, that is one of the parts as well. But on the back of this device, you have got another USB type A port that is again 480 Mbps per second. Along with there is an HDMI port that does support 4K 60 Hz connection on this device. So that means that you have got basically two different HDMI ports on this device if you just want to have two external displays to be connected on this device. Along with there is another display port that will be connecting this device to this Mac Mini M4, that is again a display port. And on the back of this device, there is another 3.5 jack that would work alongside of the one that you have got on the front of your Mac Mini M4. Now on the back of this device, as you can see, you have got this 5 rubber feet just to make sure that this thing it does stay on your desk or wherever you are putting your device. Now also on the back of this dock, you can see that there is a small cutout, and that is just to make sure that this aligns with the power button on this Mac Mini M4, because the Mac Mini M4 it has got the power button on the bottom side, which just makes it very difficult, because every time you might just have to lift your Mac Mini M4 to just power on the device, which is just foolish. But this is something that is being solved by this very method on this one. And the last thing is the back portion of this device. As you can see that this portion is where you just put in your M.2 NVMe SSD drives, and the standards that it supports is the standard 2230, 2242, 2260, and the one that is the most common one, that is the 2280. Now this is all that are the nitty-gritty features that are available in this device. And again, this M.2 slot it supports about 10 Gbps of the maximum speed that I would just come on later onto this video. Along with, I think so that the maximum storage that this thing supports is about 4 TB, which in my opinion is a very good capacity for this dock. Now onto the things that I wanted to discuss about in this video is this list of the network thing that I just noted down for you in this thing. Now the thing is that when I used this dock, I was not very sure about the network speed, because I have seen in the past that the network speeds on these kind of devices it does suffer because of this metal contact and because of the way that these things are configured. But this is just not the thing that what I experienced on this dock that I've got in my studio. Now for my regular testing without any kind of dock that what I tested, I did 3 different tests, and the download speed on my first test was without any dock about 272.27 megabyte per second. The up speed was about 232.40. I did another test to just confirm, and it was about 233.68. That was the download speed. The upload speed was about 202.03 mbps per second. The third testing was again without the dock, and I got about a download speed that was about 247.89, and the upload speed was about 200.10 megabyte per second, and that was again without any kind of dock that I tested this thing with. But to my surprise, I just did 6 different tests on this thing just to make sure that I was having the right numbers, and what I got with this dock was really surprising. Now the download speed was about 280.20 in my first test, and the upload speed was about 344.53, which was just amazing. The second test I did with this dock, again this a normal one, was again something that surprised me again because it was a very consistent speed. The download speed was about 287.09, the upload speed was about 330.79, and the third test that I did was about the download speed was 246.41 and the upload speed was about 293.14, which is just a significant improvement versus when I was using my Mac Mini M4 without any sort of dock. That just made a lot of difference in my usage. Now my Wi-Fi speeds are about 600 mbps. That is the download speed. That is the regular one when I am just very much near to my Wi-Fi connection, which I am not in this room. And the upload speed is about again the same, that is about 500 megabyte per second. That is what again when I am near to my Wi-Fi device, which is not what I am here in. So I was surprised to see that even if I was getting half of the speed on this room with the help of this dock, that is just one very amazing thing. But the thing that I do not like about this dock is that just because of it has got this metal casing, it does get a little bit more hotter than what I was expecting, and that is one of the reason that why this company did provide with a thicker thermal pad with this thing versus when I was comparing it with this vertical model. That is again, I think so that the model name is 218B Max, and I will just come on to that thing later on to this video. But this thing, it does get a little bit hot, but not to the point where I think so it might just damage the internal circuit of your Mac Mini M4 or even the SSD drive that is there onto this device. So something that you just want to make sure about this very unit over here. Now one another thing that I did not like about this one is that the way that this thing is configured in the terms of the M.2 slot. Now this company, it provided me with a few bits and pieces to be just put into this enclosure, as you can see on the back. So when you just take it out, there is a metal enclosure and there is a screw thing, and that is one of the most difficult part to just screw in onto this device. That just made it a very difficult one. I almost lost the screw on the first time of the installation because it went into the device and I just had to shake it like this to make sure that it comes out of this device, because again the screw is a metal thing and it might just short some kind of circuit that is there inside of that device. So one thing that is not the easiest thing, but apart from that, Minisopuru, it has done just a very amazing job in the terms of the build quality. I do not see any kind of hard corners. It is a very smooth device and it does match the color of my Mac Mini M4. Now the other thing that I wanted to discuss is this SD card slot, as you can see in the front of this device. Now as I mentioned, there are two of them. One of them is the full size one, the other one is the mini one, and I tested both of them. The company claims about 104 mbps second of the speed on this thing, and to my surprise it is very exact because I was getting about 90 or 100 mbps of the transfer speed on this thing. Now let me just see that what was the exact speed. Now while I was uploading the things to this SD card, it was about 80 to 100 mbps for about 18 gigabyte of the size of the data, and it just showed about 3 minutes to upload that file completely from my Mac Mini to my SD card, which is amazing. But when I tried to do the very same thing from the SD card to the Mac Mini M4, and that was about 32 gigabyte of the file, and again to my surprise that took about 5 minutes to just transfer about 32 gigabyte of file from this SD card to my Mac Mini M4, and it was again about 80 to 100 megabyte of the speed that I was getting on this thing, which is again, I was surprised to see, because I thought so that it is a Chinese brand and it might not be the exact thing that what they just mentioned on their website, but this is exactly what they mentioned and what you would get out of this thing. Now about the M.2 SSD, that just shows about 10 gigabytes of the speed on their website, and I could also just confirm those claims because I was able to transfer 5.69 gigabyte of the data from this SSD to my Mac Mini M4 and vice versa in about, I would say, 15 seconds or even less than that in few of those scenarios, and that was just amazing. So exactly when I did the transfer from Mac Mini to the NVMe drive, it took about 15 seconds, and when I did from the NVMe drive to the Mac Mini, it took about 10 seconds to do the very exact thing. Now while I was doing the transfer, maybe because the file size was not too long, it just did not show anything. It was just saying that ready to be transferred or something when I was doing the transfer, but it was actually transferring the files, and just in a few seconds it just did transfer. But because I was recording that thing, the very portion of that video on my Mac Mini M4, I could just calculate that how much time did it take to actually transfer the file from the Mac Mini to the SSD and vice versa, which is just great. Now as I just said, the only two things that I did not like about this thing is just that the way that you place the M.2 SSD slot on this thing, which is just a very difficult one, and the second thing is that it does get a little bit hot. Now the second thing is that I just wanted to review this thing as well, as it was sent by Minisopuru as well, and this is the device that I would rather prefer, and there are a number of reasons for this thing. Now this is a vertical stand and a lot of people might not like the design, but this is one thing that I do like about this thing a lot. Now you can just place this Mac Mini and you just need to make sure that this dimple, as you can see on the back, this is where you have the placement of the fan. So when you install this thing, at the same time you get access to the front ports, the back ports, and also the number of ports that you have got on this thing is actually better. Not actually the number of ports, but the quality of ports on this thing is a bit better than what you have got on the regular model. Now you have got two USB type A ports, again 480 Mbps per second, that is the transfer speed. Along with there is an extra 10 gigabyte per second of the type C port that is there on the front, because the way you connect this thing with your Mac Mini M4 is with this attached cord that is there on this thing, which is one thing that I do not know that if this thing breaks, how is the way that it would work. Might be you can just use this 10 gigabyte per second of connection to connect this thing with your Mac Mini M4. Might be one of the ways. I did not try. But you have got another USB type A port, but this time this is a 3.2 gigabyte standard, which means that it is a full 10 gigabyte second of the speed, just like what you have got on this front one, the USB type C port. So this orange one, it does support the same standard of the USB type A that is there on the USB type C. Now as per the SD card slot, we have got two of them. One of them is the full one, the other one is the mini one, but I tested this thing as well and it was about the same speed as what I was getting with the other device. So about 104 Mbps per second is what this company claims, and this is how it works as well. So pretty accurate that what they have said in their marketing thing on their website. Now one another thing is that they have got this padding inside of this vertical stand as well. You can see this gray padding, and that is just to make sure that it does not scratch your device whatsoever. Now on the back you have got 4 rubber pads, but these are a bit smaller than what you have got on the other device. And also you have got this HDMI port on the other side of this dock, which is again 4K 60 Hz. Along with there is a headphone jack on the side of this thing. So again, if you just want to use the one that is there on your Mac Mini M4, you can use that one as well. And there is just this extra one that is there on this device. And also just like the other one, you can use both of these HDMI ports, one that is there on the Mac Mini M4 and the one that is there on the dock, to be making sure that you can just connect to external displays on this Mac Mini M4 dock, which is just amazing. And also the front portion of this thing has got this small lip, as you can see, and this is just to make sure that you can put any kind of smartphone or a tablet on front of this thing. Now the thing that I like the most about this dock is that because of this vertical position, you can just use this Mac Mini instead of the front portion, just like this back portion, as you can see, and that would make sure that the Wi-Fi signal that I think so it does rest on the back of the Mac Mini, the Wi-Fi antenna thing, it is almost every time pointing to the way where you want to. But I might be wrong, because the time when I was testing this thing, the speed was not the best one as what I just wanted to. On my first test, I was getting about 230.74 megabyte per second of the download speed. The upload speed was about 96.95. That is just a downgrade. I think that this could be because of this USB type A connection that is 3.2 that might be disturbing the connection on this thing. But the second time when I did the test, it was about 249.82. That was the download speed. The upload speed was about 223.07, which is not too bad. And the third time it was about 238.79. That was the download speed, and the upload speed was about 222.07. So it is not as fast as what you have got on the regular model, but again it is faster than what I was getting on my standard Mac Mini M4 without any sort of talk, which is still acceptable if not the best thing in the world. Now one more thing that I noticed on this thing was that the thermal pad that what I got with this device was not as thick as what I got with the other one, which means that this device, it does not really get very hot, which is one thing that is just a peace of mind for me. So I might just stick with this one instead of getting onto the other one. That was not really my original plan, because I wanted to stick with this original one and just keep my silicone case on top of it as well, just to make sure that my Mac Mini M4 is protected. But I just changed my mind and I would just go with this very unit over here. Now the other thing is that this also support about 4 TB of the maximum storage, but the thermal pad, again, it was not one of the best ones, so I might be able to just replace it with a better one on this thing. But the placement of this NVMe to drive, it is done with the help of a rubber screw that comes with this device as well, which is way much more better than what we got on that other original one. So something that I might just be nitpicking, but one thing that I just noticed about this device. But otherwise the color of this thing, it again matches the Mac Mini M4, just the way that it is really designed for the Mac Mini M4 by Apple itself. It is a metal construction, the edges are not too sharp, and the paint, or I would say the silver coating on this thing, is very smooth as well. So I like this device a lot, and I like the way that we have got multiple faster connection ports on this thing versus the regular one. And as because of the price on both of these devices is almost the same, I think so that one of them is costing about 94 Canadian dollars and the other one is about 98 Canadian dollars if you just buy from their own website, that is the Minisopuru website. And the shipping charge is also not one of the worst one, because it was just about 6 Canadian dollars when I checked on their website, which is also one of the plus points, because if you're buying these devices from Amazon directly, it is a bit more expensive. And that is just one of the things that I would just want to suggest. There is no sort of a code that I would be able to provide, because I did not ask the company, but if there is something, I would just link down in this video. But as for my opinion, I think that both of these devices are really good one, and for the price, I think that the value that you're getting of this thing is really a lot. Now you can just buy any kind of SSD, the NVMe drive, and especially if you have got a Mac Mini M4 that is just about the base variant, that is I think 256GB, as what I have got in my studio as well. This is one of the things that you really need, because the connection speed, or I would say the transfer speed on the NVMe slot, is just about the perfect. And even I have got a Ugreen NAS device in my studio as well, and that is not as fast as what we have got with the 10GB per second of direct connection, or a sort of, I would say, a direct attached storage connection as what you're able to get out of this dock, versus a NAS drive that is a network attached solution. That might be a better one for some people, but it is not the fastest one in my opinion. So for the people who can just afford this device and they can just pair it with an NVMe SSD, I think that this might be one of the fastest solution. You can just format your NVMe SSD to APFS format, and you can sit your application on top of the SSD rather than having all the applications to be used on your Mac Mini M4, which is one of the solution. Just saying, you can save a lot of money and not buy a higher variant of the Mac Mini M4 with higher storage. But this might be one of the perfect solution if you have just got a base storage just like me. I'm just telling this thing again and again, because this is one thing that I really loved about this device. And well, With that said, that was all that what I wanted to share about in this video. But do let me know in the comment sections below that if you have got any sort of experience in using any sort of dock device with your Mac Mini device, and how your experience has been with one of those devices. And well, that was all. My name is Anshul. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.